1 million stolen bees, 20 grand worth of stolen calculators, and a fake psychologist. There's no shortage of weird crimes that have gone on lately, and your news refresh has a bunch of them all right now. But before we enter a plea, subscribe to @TheNewsRefresh on YouTube to get more weird and interesting news stories each and every day. Thanks. Okay, so this one stings.
I said, where are my bees at? So I got out and this is what I found.
That's a master beekeeper speaking about a massive bee caper in North Carolina. Our man here says he recently visited his bee yard in Brunswick County, where he noticed that somewhere between 15 and 30 of his bee colonies were missing. Now, for those who have never been lucky enough to spend some quality time inside of one, a single one of his bee colonies can hold anywhere between 60,000 and 100,000 bees. And our beekeeper here believes that a thief made off with more than 1 million individual bees inside of their fine little storage facilities.
They took the bees, the boxes, tops, bottom boards, everything, all in one shot.
As of right now, it's not clear who buzzed off with all these bees or when they were taken. But our bee boy says that colonies like these can sell for about $200 on the black market. I don't know about you, but I certainly wouldn't be comfortable stashing 100,000 bees under my trench coat. But then again, I'm not a bee burglar. But strangely enough, kind of like relying on a groundhog to determine when you should start shopping for a smart spring jacket, cross-country bee thefts aren't entirely uncommon this time of year. You see, when it comes to honeybees, the experts over at the Bee Informed Partnership note that the end of January through February marks the largest annual managed pollination event in the world, when 1 million honeybee colonies make it to California to support its annual almond bloom. Yeah, and you thought bloomin' onions were impressive. As highlighted by Bee Culture, the magazine of American beekeeping for all you non-subscribers out there, this giant pollination event is when farmers in California tend to rent bees, during which up to 2 out of every 3 could possibly end up being from out of state, supported by beekeepers renting them out from places all over the country. A few years ago, the Associated Press covered the story of one beekeeper who had to start outfitting his operation with GPS trackers, cameras, and cable locks after someone pilfered 282 of his bee habitats. That article said that these thefts typically happen at night and are usually handled by a beekeeper or someone familiar with the transportation of bees. So for all we know, out in North Carolina, the culprit was this guy. Anyway, this beekeeper doesn't think he's going to get his bees back. But nevertheless, he plans to make a new yard that's stocked with at least 45 colonies. Oh, and he plans to put these colonies in a place where thieves won't be able to access them. Where exactly is that? None of your beeswax. Now, if you think that stealing 1 million bees is crazy, try crunching the numbers on this.
I think it's ridiculous. I can't believe it.
I never heard no one stealing calculators. That's probably a first time for me.
Yes, these people in the parking lot of a Minnesota Target are reacting to the news that police believe there's an interstate theft ring targeting graphing calculators. So back in February, 2 guys from Texas were stopped leaving this suburban Minneapolis Target carrying a cooler that contained $5,000 worth of stolen calculators. Nothing says cool like a calculator, of course. And an investigation revealed these guys had hit up around a half-dozen Target stores in the area, adding up to nearly $20,000 worth of stolen graphing calculators.
It's insanity.
I mean, that's kind of just like surprising to me. It's, out of all things, calculators would definitely not be on the list of things that people would steal.
And according to the cops, there's a reason that calculators may have made your shoplifting list. According to a police report, the 2 suspects here are apparently part of a nationwide theft ring responsible for $250,000 worth of stolen calcs.
There's a game plan here. They're figuring out they can sell them on the internet. You know, to people that will go and get them because they're going to get them a little bit cheaper.
There are lots of headlines these days over the concept of organized retail crime, where instead of your average shoplifter who pilfers a candy bar or something because it's easy to skip the conscience button at the self-checkout, or even above average shoplifters, like the woman we told you about a while ago here at The News Refresh on YouTube, please subscribe, who was accused of stealing $2,500 worth of those Stanley cups because, I don't know, a $40 cow-colored Tervis doesn't quite have the same cultural cachet or resale value right now as a pink Stanley beverage container that causes suburban stampedes. The National Retail Federation, whose leaders include executives from Walmart, BJ's Wholesale, Target, and a whole host of other major retail stores, is quite worried that organized retail crime is leading all kinds of stolen stuff to get sold online at auctions or at flea markets. and they claim their surveys have found it's leading to violent store encounters. However, as Retail Dive points out, there's actually no legal or precise definition of organized retail crime, and some analysts think the industry is exaggerating this whole issue. Maybe if people weren't stealing so many calculators, we could get some better statistics. But hey, the two guys involved here are facing up to 10 years behind bars. Of course, one of these local residents is worried that this calculator caper is just going to lead to more obnoxious security in the stores.
Are they gonna have to lock up calculators now? Like, are people gonna have to go up and like, hey, I want to buy this calculator. Can I unlock it? If it's a calculator, it's going to be another thing, so it's just one after the other.
It's not immediately clear which specific calculators these guys were allegedly stealing, but back in January, police in Indiana announced the arrest of a different guy who was caught as part of a $90,000 calculator theft from more than a dozen different Target stores. After he was caught inside of a rental car, they say they found 23 Texas Instrument TI-84 Plus calculators and 2 Texas Instrument TI-84 Plus calculators. Target sells those for about $150 a piece. And a TI-84 Plus lets you input and view math symbols and stacked fractions, just like they do in textbooks, and is approved for courses like AP Calculus. Or, if you prefer to waste your time messing around in broadcast or drama classes like me, the built-in USB port can help you download games like Pac-Man, Flappy Bird, Tetris, Snake, 2048, and even this helpful notes app that lets you save whatever you want to write on the thing. Though let's be clear, TI-84 CalQuiz does not condone the use of this software for cheating purposes. Though your News Refresh does condone you to subscribe to @TheNewsRefresh on YouTube for new weird and interesting news stories each and every day. And hey, if you think that stealing bees and calculators is crazy, well, don't share your thoughts with this guy. This is Mr. Scott Keeling Torres, and that's Mr., not Doctor, which is kind of the reason he's wearing that flattering orange jumpsuit there. As noted in this cease and desist letter from back in September from the Board of Psychologist Examiners for the state of Arizona, he'd been passing himself off by claiming, "My name is Dr. Scott Keeling Torres, behavioral analyst, BTH, psychologist, PhD." But indeed, this board found he has never held a license to practice psychology or behavioral analysis in the state of Arizona. Yeah, he was accused of being a fake shrink, and you thought you had problems that someone trustworthy was listening to. Phoenix local news reports that a search warrant found that he had a fake diploma, 60 credit cards, and expensive vehicles with vanity plates that read Dr. Psych, Psych, and Psych 2. Presumably because Psych was already taken by, himself. The Psych who isn't a doctor. He was arrested in November and charged on multiple counts, including forgery, and has since pleaded guilty to fraud schemes and possession of drug paraphernalia. The state agreed to drop charges on forgery and perjury, and he was just sentenced to 90 days in jail, plus 4 years of probation, a refrain from drinking alcohol, an order to undergo substance abuse treatment, and a mental health evaluation. He will be getting partial credit for some of the time he's already served behind bars, though, and he'll be getting out of the clink in May. And once he's a free citizen again, he should probably change those plates from this to this.